What if I told you that Paris wasn't supposed to exist? That the city we know, the cafes, the cathedrals, the shimmering lights on the Seine, was nearly erased? More than once? What if I told you that every stone, every bridge, every light post is part of a centuries-long experiment? Not in architecture, but in identity. Because behind the postcards lies something far stranger, a city that keeps dying and coming back. Each time, more beautiful and more haunted than before. In this episode, we'll walk through the ruins and revolutions that shaped Paris, from the Roman swamp of Lutetia, to the medieval fires that birthed Notre Dame, to the boulevards carved with surgical precision under Napoleon, to the Iron Tower that almost got torn down. And by the end, you'll understand why Paris is more than a place. It's a blueprint for how civilizations survive themselves. It begins here, on an island, Île de la Cité, 2,000 years ago. The Romans called it Lutetia, the muddy place. A few wooden huts cling to a swamp, surrounded by wolves and mist. No one could have imagined it would become the most visited city on Earth. But it had something powerful, a position, a river that split trade routes, bridges that connected worlds. Paris learned early that to survive, it had to stand at the crossroads, between land and water, faith and reason, power and poetry. And from that tension came its soul. Over the next 1,000 years, the island grew teeth, stone walls, monasteries, and a cathedral that would scrape the sky. Notre Dame. When the spire rose, people said it touched heaven. But centuries later, it would burn, and the world would realize that even perfection is temporary. Remember that fire. We'll return to it later, because Paris always rebuilds from its ashes. Fast forward to 1789. The city is starving, the king is distant, the people are furious. And then, the impossible happens. On July 14th, the Bastille falls. A fortress built to hold prisoners becomes the first victim of an idea, freedom. Paris doesn't just start a revolution, it invents one. For the first time in history, ordinary people believe they can rewrite the rules of civilization itself. But freedom has a shadow. The same squares that cheered the Republic soon echoed with the thud of the guillotine. Even ideals have a price tag, and Paris paid it in blood. Still, something remained. A new kind of city, one that didn't belong to kings, but to citizens. And that's the pattern that will define it forever. Destroy, rebuild, redefine. If stories like this fascinate you, if you love seeing how history isn't static but alive, consider becoming a 5 Minutes of Culture member. You'll help us keep making videos that turn the past into living stories and explore how our world was truly built, one idea at a time. After the revolutions, Paris was a maze. Narrow alleys, sewage, chaos. Then came Baron Haussmann, Napoleon III's urban surgeon. He tore through the old city with ruler and compass, carving boulevards so straight they could swallow an army, or sunlight. People were horrified. Thousands of medieval streets vanished overnight. But Haussmann wasn't destroying Paris. He was reprogramming it. The wide avenues became arteries for movement, for commerce, for spectacle. Cafes appeared. People began to see each other again. Paris learned the art of visibility, the city as theater. But what happens when a city becomes a stage? We'll see soon, because the next act is built of iron. The World's Fair. Gustave Eiffel raised a tower taller than anything ever built. Critics call it a skeleton, a disgrace, a monster of metal. They demand it be torn down the moment the fair ends. But Eiffel sees something they don't, the future. He fills the tower with telegraph wires and scientific instruments. And slowly, Paris falls in love with its reflection. The Eiffel Tower becomes everything Paris had always been. Controversial, fragile, eternal. It's not just an icon. It's a message. That beauty is often born from resistance. Remember that. It's the same lesson the city will need again, half a century later. German troops march under the Arc de Triomphe. The city of light goes dark. For 4 years, Parisians whisper through the occupation. Resistance fighters meet in bookshops and bakeries. Messages are hidden in baguettes. Radios hum with forbidden hope. When liberation finally comes, in August 1944, the city explodes. Not in bombs, but in tears. Flags wave from windows. The bells of Notre Dame ring for the first time in years, and once again, the city rises from silence. This time, with a new idea. Freedom must be guarded as carefully as beauty. But while Paris shines, it also hides. Underneath the cafes and cathedrals stretch hundreds of kilometers of catacombs, ancient quarries turned into ossuaries. 6 million skeletons rest there, neatly stacked in walls of skulls and tibias. A city above the city, one alive, one dead. They say that if you listen closely, the catacombs breathe. Because Paris isn't built on history, it's built from it. And the deeper you go, the more you realize. The city of light was never afraid of the dark. For 2 centuries, Paris has been a magnet for minds. Pasteur invented vaccines. Curie discovered radiation. Sartre questions existence. And artists reinventing sight itself. The city became a laboratory for thought where science, art, and politics collided in cafes instead of battlefields. Even today, every street corner seems to hum with unfinished sentences. That's the true power of Paris. It teaches you that creation and destruction are twins. Flames climb the spire of Notre Dame. Centuries collapse in minutes. The world watches, powerless as the roof gives way. But when the smoke clears, the foundations still stand. And once again, Paris chooses not despair, but reconstruction. 700 years after it was first built, the city proves one more time that beauty isn't what endures. Resilience is. Stand on Pont Neuf at sunset. Upstream, the island where it all began. Downstream, the glass towers of La Défense, where tomorrow is already waiting. Paris has reinvented itself more than any other city on Earth. Every age has tried to define it and failed. Because Paris isn't a museum, it's a mirror. And when you look long enough, you don't just see the city, you see your own reflection in the flow of history. So stay till the last frame of this story. Because what Paris really teaches us isn't how to build monuments, it's how to rebuild meaning. The City of Light is proof that what burns can shine again. If this journey changed how you see the world, hit subscribe to 5 Minutes of Culture. Because our next destination will take us even deeper to another place where civilization almost ended, but didn't.